Baby, I'm crazy about you. Don't like the way you do. Always mistreat me and say that you love me too. Someday you'll want me and I'll be so far from you. Then you will be sorry, babe, you treat me like you do. Baby, I'm crazy about you. Don't like the way you do. How can you mistreat me and say that you love me too? I'm gonna leave you and then you'll know I'm through. You'll always hear me singing this song, you know I'm crazy about you. Welcome to Baritone Blues, and this time we're going to be looking at a kind of a ragtime style finger-picked blues in the key of D. This is Crazy About You by Big Bill Broonzy, and the recording that he made of this was with Jazz Gillum and the State Street Boys, Jazz Gillum being a fantastic harmonica player. Now this one has got quite a few more chords in it. It's got this nice kind of little ragtimey jazzy turnaround, plus it's got one chord that's a little bit unusual if we've been working on our more or less 3-chord style blues. So let's have a little step through the chord progression. I'll put it up on the screen. We won't do the finger picking to start with. Let's just strum through the chords and find our way around it. We start off with 2 bars of D. 1, 2, 3, 4, D. Another bar of D. A bar of G and D. Then we stay on the D on the second line. 2 bars of D again like the last line. Then an E7 and an A7. Back to our D, but then a D7, a G, and then an F sharp 7. Back to G, G sharp diminished, D7, B7, E7, A7, D. Our turnaround is where we start changing chord twice every bar. So it starts to get quite panicky when you're doing this and you're trying to keep up. But actually it fits under the fingers nicely. We have our G. Our G sharp diminished is just open 1, open 1. But if you do it with your second and third fingers like this, then when we go to the next chord, which is D7, we just slide up and add our index finger. So really this is just like a bridging chord between our G, it's working its way up to the D7. When we get to the D7, we now need a B7. We can get that just by taking our index finger off there and putting it on to the low D string. And these 2 fingers can stay put. We just move that index finger. And then we go E7. And here you can do this A7 either as a bar at the 2nd fret and your finger, whichever finger you use, I'm barring it with my 2nd finger and using my 3rd finger there on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, but you could bar it with your 1st finger and use your 2nd finger, it doesn't matter. Or you could play it 2 open, 2 open, which I think sounds quite nice in this one. Plus, nice easy change from E7 to A7, and then we're going to go back to our D chord to finish. Now this song goes round a few times. It's quite a short pattern and there aren't that many words, but on the record, as you'll hear, I'll put a link down there below. You'll get a harmonica solo verse, then you'll get a sung verse, then you get a harmonica verse, then you get a sung verse, then you repeat the first verse. It's one of those ones where it just keeps doing a to and fro between the solo and the vocal. So let's just put that all together and then we'll look at the right hand. So I'll sing it nice and slowly. Baby, I'm crazy about you. Don't like the way you do. Always mistreat me and say that you love me too. Someday you'll want me and I'll be so far from you. Then you will be sorry, babe, you treat me like you do. Once you've got that pattern, we just keep going round and round. When I played it at the beginning there, I did that last line as an intro, which you could do. You could go G, G sharp diminished, D7, B7, E7, A7, D, and then start the song. That would make a great intro. So what's happening with my right hand? Well, my thumb is going backwards and forwards between my D and G strings, alternating. So I've got this constant, this nice bass line that's driving the song along. It's really important that it's your thumb that goes side to side like that and not your thumb and one finger, because that's really hard to keep solid. Plus then you've taken a finger out of action for playing the other parts and you end up having to use more and more fingers. So if you can get your thumb doing that. Now I'm resting my little finger gently on the top of the uke here, which means I don't get lost when I'm picking, and I'm also not tempted to do big plucking actions like this. You have to keep it all nice and tight and close to the strings if you want to get your speed up. So what I'm actually doing with my right hand, and I'll do you a close-up in a moment, is this. My thumb and my second finger are plucking the outside two strings, the D and the E. Then my thumb moves across to the G string and my index finger plays at the same time as that the B string. So it's outside, inside, with thumb and second finger and then thumb and first finger. Then for the second half of the bar, my thumb plays the low, the D string, my second finger plays the E string, but not at the same time this time. So before it was pinch, pinch, now it's thumb, finger, and then my thumb goes across again to the G string, and I could fit an extra note on the end there with my finger on the second string. So I'd get pinch, pinch, outside, inside, and then outside, inside again, but thumb, finger. But on this tune, I often do play it like that, but on this tune, I'm missing out that last finger note, just to leave a bit of space. And also, when you're changing chords, that last note can often get lost because you've already bailed out of that chord. Here's a close-up. And my left hand, I'm only sort of pressing down on the beat. So if I was strumming, I'd get that. It's a subtle thing, but I'm taking the pressure off my left hand, muting those strings in between the beats. Keeps it nice and snappy and bouncy. That's all you've got to do with this hand. It just keeps doing that all the way through. The trick is to keep that going while you change chords. Let's have a play through it then, nice and slowly, just one verse, but we'll do that last line as an intro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Baby, I'm crazy about you. Don't like the way you do. Always mistreat me and say that you love me too. Someday you'll want me and I'll be so far from you. Then you will be sorry, babe, you treat me like you do. Take your time with it, get those chord patterns under your left hand fingers before you worry about this hand. Just get used to strumming them like that until you can really find your way around those really well with your left hand before you introduce that picking. When you've got the picking, do it nice and slow like we just did, but as you bring it up to speed, we have to try and introduce this nice bounce to it where it's... And all I'm doing is that kind of squeezing with my left hand. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. It's that nice little sort of pressing gently on the beat and then relaxing your hand. It also means that you're not clutching at these chords all the way through the song and making your hand tired, but it stops everything ringing out over the top of everything else, keeps it nice and bouncy and crisp. I put a link to Big Bill Broonzy's version down below. It's not in the same key as this, it's in a quite tricky key. I think it's in the key of B flat. So I've moved this into a key that works nicely on the baritone uke, the key of D. But you can get an idea of the sort of energy and bounce that there is in that version. And if you've got a harmonica playing friend, see if they can do the harmonica parts with you. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.